Hi, hello, and welcome to the channel. I'm Lady Celine, and today we are continuing with Chapter 4 of Chaos Head Noah. We actually had some pretty reasonable and normal interactions with other people in the last one. What? I don't even think we had any delusions in the last one. It was kind of boring, but I'm thinking Chapter 4, things are probably gonna start speeding up. I think we're gonna pick up the pace and figure out just what the fuck is going on with our guy. Let's see what's up. And yeah, I'm curious about what's up with the Kozue girl that makes her draining to be around. Azuma Matasima was one of my favorite artists. They were ultra famous, and their fans would always form long lines at every one of their events. I'd heard that their new Blood Tune Dojinshi that had come out this summer had sold out in no time flat. I'd wanted to go too, but all of the events where it was being sold at had been way too crowded, to the point where it just would have been too much for me. Because of that, I found myself tearfully giving up. It had been naive of me to think that Manga Darake would be safe just because they'd had consignment sales. There had indeed been some consignment sales, but they'd been annihilated in practically an instant. On various online auctions, the premium price was set at tens of thousands of yen. All scalpers should die in a fire. Dude, true, I get that. Regardless, with all that in mind, I'd thought it was probably impossible to get my hands on it. However, just yesterday while I'd been surfing at Shan, I just so happened to see that the new issue had been recently restocked at Manga Darake, which was why I'd headed for it immediately. God, please grant me a miracle. I prayed to the heavens in front of the store, and then I stormed inside. I scanned the dojinshi section with my eyes as wide as the dinner plates. I went back and forth down the aisle, searching over and over again to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I couldn't find it. Oh. No, was it already sold out? I casually observed the cashier. It was a girl. She wasn't very cute, but she did seem friendly. I'd never even once used the hyper-advanced technique known as asking the clerk about whether or not they had a certain item in stock. The reason was, of course, that I just didn't have the courage to do so. And not only that, but the title of Azuma Matasima's new book was Seraton Cosplayer Gone Wild. So yeah, asking about it was completely and utterly impossible. Seraton Cosplayer Gone Wild. Yep. Okay. Excuse me, miss, but do you have a copy of Azuma Matasima's Seraton Cosplayer Gone Wild? Do you have a copy of this gooning material? If I asked a female clerk something like that, I would no doubt be labeled as a pervert, and I knew that for a fact, thank you very much. You know what? True. He got that one right. In the end, I simply gave up on asking the clerk anything and exited the store dejectedly. I mean, he could still ask her, but maybe a little bit of... Come on, book clerks and librarians are supposed to not be judgmental of the material that you check out. Guess I'll go home. Or maybe I should go to At Cafe. Flipping between the two as I walked, a sword I had seen before flashed past the edge of my vision. Senna, maybe? It was a sword with a distinctive two-pronged blade, the one that Girl B, the girl who'd called herself Senna, had been carrying around the city. In the crowded center guy, the tip of the sword jutted above the heads of people walking down the street. Oh, we don't get to see it? Okay. As it got closer to me, I hurriedly took refuge in a nearby arcade. When I peered out from the shadows, it didn't take long for Senna herself to appear, the sword resting on her shoulder. Wearing an expression that was just as terrifying as ever, she quickly walked toward the station. She didn't seem to have noticed me. But even then, after having experienced the humiliation play that was lugging around a sword just like hers, the bold way that Senna walked around without a care in the world impressed me. Was she really not embarrassed to hold a huge sword like that? I mean, she had to have been questioned by a police officer at least once. No way she hadn't. As I pondered that, Senna's figure got farther and farther away. Where do they sell badass D-swords like the one she has? I wondered. The one I'd gotten a hold of didn't glow, nor did it have a badass shape, so I wasn't exactly satisfied with it. I want a refund! In comparison to the sword Senna was carrying, mine was far less impressive in terms of design. The entire reason behind me getting a D-sword was to use it as a protective charm. Back at the Scramble Crossing, I'd been trembling in fear and wished for something I could rely on. After Remy had shown up, I'd become slightly more stable, but the situation surrounding me was not getting any better. I still had a lot of enemies, such as Shogun, Yua, etc. That was the reason I wanted to get my hands on a D-sword that looked way stronger than the one I actually had. Of course, there was also the collector's spirit found in every otaku. Naturally, I have to have them all. As if drawn to Senna's sword, I'd been staggering over towards Scramble Crossing without realizing it. Oh God, I bit my lip. I didn't want to be out in front of the station. I would reluctantly go to Center Guy or school or whatever because I had things I had to do there, but if I could help it, I preferred not going anywhere near them. Having a crowd of total strangers standing around me made me feel as if any escape route had been stolen away, and just the illusion of that made it hard to breathe. Yeah, that's the agoraphobia kicking in, boy. Unsurprisingly, the area in front of the station was infested with people. I was starting to feel more and more sick, so I opted to look down at the ground to try to hold back the nausea a bit. Because of that, the next time I looked up, I realized I'd lost sight of the conspicuous sword. It had looked like she'd been walking towards Hachiko's statue, but... Right then, the light above Scramble Crossing turned green. A sea of people rushed into the intersection from various directions. It became pretty chaotic. A whole host of people walking every which way, and they did it all without even so much as bumping into each other. When I saw something like that, I realized how unrealistic the empty Scramble Crossing I'd seen in my delusion the other day really was. There probably wasn't even a single second in the entire year where there was no people in this place. What was I even trying to accomplish by chasing after Senna in the first place? I hadn't even been able to ask the friendly Manga Darake employee whether they'd had something in stock. So how exactly was I supposed to talk to someone who looked unfriendly and scary looking like Senna? Besides, she might have been my enemy. I didn't know what she'd do to me if I carelessly followed her around without any form of protection. What was wrong with me? I should just go home. I finally decided on that, but right when I was about to turn around... Is she gonna pop up? Oh, nope, something else. I noticed a white chain lying down on the street. I couldn't see the end of it because it was concealed by the legs of various pedestrians, but it seemed to be stretching from where I was standing all the way to the other side of Scramble Crossing. What the hell? Is it around his foot? It was a ridiculously long chain. Was it for construction or something? But there was no evidence of construction going on anywhere. I couldn't believe they'd just left a chain lying around like this. Was this a location they were shooting for some movie or TV show? No, they wouldn't be filming at a time as crowded as this. Well, yeah, maybe it's left. But then, following that logic, the chain could be left over from some kind of filming. I don't know. Okay, then did someone throw it away? A chain this long? It would already be hard enough just to bring it this far out here. Regardless, it was definitely going to get in the way of people and cars. Bruh, someone's going to trip over this. Tilting my head in confusion, I examined my surroundings to see how people around me were reacting to it. I thought it would be dangerous if somebody caught their leg on it, but not a single person was paying any attention to it. I rubbed my eyes and tried looking at it one more time, thinking that it might be an optical illusion or something, but the chain was still there. I didn't have the courage to touch it, though. It creeped me out too much. Well, you should. If you think it's an optical illusion, that means that you think that, what, it's like drawn on the sidewalk or something? That would be a good verification tactic. It wasn't a cheap-looking plastic one. It was an extremely sturdy-looking iron chain. How long had this thing been left sitting here? And no one's died? If these were normal circumstances, I'd think it was some kind of trap. After which, I would have run away in fear, suspecting that something terrifying might have been waiting for me. But now, for whatever reason, I couldn't help but wonder where the chain led. My mind was overtaken by a compulsive obsession that told me I had to follow this chain. I crossed the scramble crossing before the light turned red, bumping into several pedestrians as I did. At the end of the continuous chain was an old, dark green train car, that was sitting next to the Hachiko statue. The wheels had been removed, so it was closer to a monument or an exhibit rather than a functional train car. You were supposed to be able to enter it freely, too. The white chain was extending from the open door to the inside of the train. There were tons of people parked in front of Hachiko, but not one was paying any attention to the chain. They didn't show any signs that they were even aware of it. As well as that, there were no signs of any people on the train at all. With a gulp, I peered inside the train car. Oh, just Senna! Ah! In that moment, I realized it was a trap. I couldn't believe it myself, which was why I hadn't suspected it at all before. The car appeared to be empty, but there was the figure of a single person inside. Aoi Senna was sitting cross-legged on a burgundy train seat. Her sharp gaze was fixed firmly on me. For some reason, she was holding a light blue popsicle in her hand. That was a Crunchy-kun, right? Forget it. I couldn't care less about Crunchy-kuns right now. More importantly, the gigantic D-sword she had been carrying was mysteriously nowhere to be found. Okay, I was not expecting that. I wondered where she had even managed to put the thing, with how huge it was and all. Ooh, positive or negative, I want to go with something bad. In place of the sword was a white chain coiling around one of her legs. Which reminded me that back when I'd first met her in Center Guy, she had said something about finding her in a train car in front of the station. This must have been what she meant. I don't remember her saying that, but I'ma trust you on that. Was she the one who'd put this chain here? Could she really have been lugging around such a long chain? It looked like it weighed over 10 kilograms, and not only that, but it had to have been over 50 meters long. I had no idea what was up with this girl. She was entirely unknown to me. She wasn't normal. Could she be Shogun? Feeling scared now, I moved to run away without saying anything. Only for a sharp voice to strike me right then. Hi. Come in. I automatically stopped dead in my tracks. What if she got up and attacked me with the D-sword right at this very moment? The very thought scared the hell out of me. Giving in to my fear, I began to follow Senna's order. I took one step into the train car. But right as I did, I immediately reconsidered. That was exactly what Senna would want me to do. A moth to a flame, a fly to a spider's web. I couldn't do that. How could I waltz right on in to my own death like that? I should run away. That was a much better idea. From the chain, it was easy to tell that this girl had some completely absurd, superhuman strength. With just a single twist of her arm, I'd probably get helplessly pinned to the ground, and she would break my arm right after. And that wouldn't be the end of it. She had a D-sword. If I were to be slashed with a sword that thick and gigantic, I would die instantly. This girl was lying in wait for me. She was obviously plotting something. Run away, now! I turned on my heel to get off the train. I don't think she's gonna let you go, man. But without me noticing it, the exit had closed. I had only just walked in. It hadn't even been more than a couple seconds, and yet, with no sound and no movement, the door had closed all on its own. I was petrified. I couldn't figure out what had just happened. Interesting that things are not wavy, so right at the moment, this could really be happening. When had the door closed? Who had closed it? It didn't seem like it had opened and closed automatically. And even if it was an automatic door, surely I would have heard it. Senna was still sitting down on the seat. She hadn't moved a muscle. So she couldn't have been the one to close it. And it obviously couldn't have been me. I hadn't even touched the door. Was it open when he came over here? I wondered if there was someone nearby who could be the owner, but I couldn't see anyone outside the window who looked like it. No, whoever had closed it didn't matter right now. Yeah, don't worry about that. You gotta talk to the girl. Let's figure out what's going on with her. I shifted my gaze over to the other doorway sitting at the back of the car. It was closed too. I'm trapped. Senna and I were the only ones on the train, but what did that mean? All sorts of negative thoughts flew through my head, and I nearly screamed aloud. How long? Senna, still glaring at me, of course, spoke up once again. Do you plan to keep standing there? I had nowhere to run. My legs trembled. If I was to make some noise, the people outside might notice, but Senna would probably beat me to a pulp before I could escape. For now, it was best to just do what she said without resisting. I resigned myself and went to stand in front of Senna. Uh-huh? I suddenly realized. The bundle of chain that had been at Senna's feet just a moment ago had disappeared without a trace. Okay? I thought that she'd moved it somewhere, but there had been no sound to indicate that, and she was still sitting on the same seat she'd been sitting on the entire time. Clearly hadn't moved. Even if she had moved it, where the hell would she have moved it to? I didn't see it anywhere on the train. Where was the error? What? Okay. Senna, completely unconcerned with how lost I was, asked me something unintelligible yet again. You tailed me, so I'm assuming you found one. As I shook my head left and right in confusion, Senna's expression became increasingly stern. She then eventually looked away from me, let out a small sigh, then took a bite of her popsicle. Freed from her sharp gaze, I nearly sank down to the floor once again. Talk about looks that could kill. I would have sat down on one of the seats if I could have, but when I realized that she might have said something to me if I did, I just couldn't bring myself to. I knew you were following me. You saw the error I created, didn't you? Okay, so maybe the error was the chain, and she was able to make it disappear. What are you talking about? The chain. The white chain. If that was what she meant, then yeah, I'd seen it. I'd followed the weird thing all the way here, after all. But I don't know where it is. It disappeared. I made it disappear. It was my delusion, after all. Ooh, okay. Delusion? What was she talking about? Again, we chose a bad delusion, and right now we seem to not be deluding. Then, what about the sword? You have one, don't you? Excuse me? No, I don't have one. How could I? This wasn't going well. I could barely get a word out. More importantly, who are you? It seems like you can see. What? Senna glanced at me, then jerked her chin toward the window. What do you see outside this window? People. Lots of people. It felt like there were even more people than before. I felt like I was going to get a headache just from looking at them. There were people with their heads glued to their cell phones, people smiling over phone calls, people standing and staring at the stream of people. Practically everything I saw out the window was people standing around waiting for other people. What was odd to me, though, was how no one thought it was strange that Senna and I were locked in this train, despite the fact that there were this many people. You'd think at least one person would find it weird. Dude, they don't know that you're in here, and if it's apparently a public spot, it wouldn't, like, no one would notice. No one would care. They go, yeah, people are in the open train that's people are allowed to go in. No one was even paying attention to the train. Unless the entire train's a delusion, I don't know. Do you believe that there's a perfect world out there? There isn't. There can't be. Errors will always exist. Because everything, people included, is an electronic device. Bitch, what? What kind of Chuni plotline was that? Jokes aside, I also thought about similar things pretty often. And I wasn't trying to say that Chuni plotlines were bad or anything. After all, the world was overflowing with books, movies, and anime that were nothing but Chuni insanity. Why was it that a writer or a movie director or whoever else could come up with Chuni plotlines like that, and it was all well and good, but when amateurs like me did it, everyone made fun of us? The world's greats had all been Chunibyos. Just think about it. The Wright brothers had genuinely thought that they could fly through the sky 100 years ago. Napoleon had boasted that the word impossible is not in my dictionary. That was why Chunibyos weren't something to be mocked. It was the path that all of the world's greats had taken. But my question was, why had this girl started suddenly spouting all this Chuni bullshit at me? It isn't what you're seeing. It's what's being shown to you. People acquire information from outside the body by utilizing the 5 senses, but about 80% of the information we receive comes from sight. The images obtained from sight are converted into impulses, signals that are then sent to the brain via the optic nerve. Just like a telephone, I thought to myself absent-mindedly. A telephone converted your voice into electrical signals and then sent that information to a distant location. A telephone, huh? You could say it's similar to that. Had she just read my mind? No, there was no way. Had I maybe been mumbling to myself without realizing it again? Do you know what VR technology is? What, virtual reality? Of course, I didn't actually answer her out loud. Visual rebuilding. Huh, I was wrong. I'd actually never heard of that. It's a technology currently being researched in the field of psychophysiology in America. Ooh, is this a real thing? With this technology, even those who have been blind from birth will be able to accurately view anything that the eyes can naturally perceive. This is made possible by using video equipment such as video cameras. That look on your face tells me you're wondering how exactly, but the way it works is simple. Images provided by a video camera and the nerve impulses traveling through the brain are both essentially electrical signals. And in short, all that's needed for the brain to interpret those images is technology that converts the signals into nerve impulses. There have already been successful tests, to the point where the research team behind it have already obtained a patent for it. It was patented? Seriously? I thought that it was just a fairly hardcore delusion with an impressive amount of depth and detail behind it, but claiming there was a full-on patent was taking it way too far. Something can be inferred from that patent. Senna, who had been looking out the window the whole time, turned to face me. She slowly crossed her legs. If it's possible to convert specific information into nerve impulses, wouldn't it be possible to control all 5 of the senses and even the free will of people itself? That's a good point. So they were saying maybe someone nefarious got their hands on this technology and is using it to make people delude, and maybe that's what's causing these like new gen murder stuff. Even though it was right in front of Shibuya Station, it was strangely quiet on the train. It had felt as if it had been deprived of sound itself. It was obviously an illusion, but I couldn't help but remember the delusion I'd had several days ago of the deserted Shibuya. As I thought about it, I couldn't take my eyes off of the crowd moving outside the window. Like I said before, people are electronic devices. And I don't mean just the brain either. The entire body has nerves with electricity running through them. In other words, even our bodies and actions could be controlled as well. Theoretically, that is. This girl. I was taken aback. This girl was even more delusional than both me and Yua combined. Dude, what she was saying sounded logical, but it was clearly a total pipe dream. It does sound logical. I don't see why it would be impossible. In fact, the research team that acquired the patent is shifting their research in that very direction. The contents were so dangerous that the President of the United States issued a memorandum to try and prevent any further research. How much of what she was saying was actually true? It said, no agency shall conduct or support classified human research without having proposed and promulgated the common rule. Senna looked downward and clasped her hands, resting on her knees tightly. But the world is full of nothing but corrupt factions. Factions that have no regard for morality and will sacrifice others without a second thought for own personal gain. It makes me sick. After she finished voicing her disgust, she stuck the last chunk of the nearly melted crunchy-kun in her mouth, then suddenly stood up. I reflexively started to shrink back, only to run into the wall behind me. Ignorance is a sin. People claim ignorance is bliss, but that's simply naive. Doubt the world. Study its mechanisms. This world is imperfect. She was coming toward me. Thinking she might hit me, I tried to shield my face with my arm, but in the end, she slipped right past me without doing anything. Is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Without looking at me, she murmured that as we passed each other, and then she promptly exited the train by herself. Before I knew it, the door exiting the train opened as silently as when it had closed. I was completely and utterly bewildered. I stared out the window at Senna as she walked away. Without looking back at me even once, she quickly disappeared into the sea of people. In the end, I had absolutely no clue as to what she'd been trying to tell me. The only thing I took from it was that Senna despised the world. Typical Chunibyo. From my point of view, though, it sucked ass to have her shoot her poisonous denpa bullshit at me without even letting me get a word in. Her tone of voice alone had made me feel like I was being lectured. The way she talked was often a moe characteristic when it came to 2D, but in reality, it only served to make her feel even more like a total DQN. But honestly, the fact that she hadn't attacked me was a relief. Yeah, man, I bet. A surprise considering that, for some reason, she always gave off the aura that she was just raring to slap anyone and everyone. I wanted to take a breather after that, so I sat down on the seat where Senna had been sitting before. Immediately following that, a DQN-looking couple suddenly came into the car. After that came a trio of people that were obviously DQN Kogyarus, then an older, middle-aged man, and then a young businessman wearing a suit. The train car had become claustrophobic in the blink of an eye. Before Senna had left, no one had even tried to enter the car, so where the hell had they all come from? The voices of the DQN couple and the Kogyarus were way too loud, so I quickly got out of there while telling them all to go to hell in my head. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting tangled up with an IRL Chuni chick. Okay, asshole, this time you have pissed me off. Seriously, Lord Neidhart. You're always saying shit like, oh, I don't give a fuck about 3D, but you've been getting real nice and close with a bunch of 3D girls recently, haven't you? You even said earlier that one of them broke into your house. I don't care who you ask, that's straight out of an eroge. You've plunged straight into your once-in-a-lifetime chance to be popular. Alright, listen well. I'll admit I have indeed amassed quite the number of opportunities to speak with cute females. Taku. However, every single IRL one is a fucking mental case. You try being on the receiving end of their brain-melting denpa attacks. The sheer scale of schizo, it's legitimately horrifying. Okay, I truly am Sawi. Sawi, all the girls are crazy. Don't worry about it. Even after I'd gotten back home, I'd still been somewhat interested in what Senna had told me. Of course, I didn't think that what she'd said was true, but I was pretty sure that I'd be able to confirm it for myself if I did a little bit of research into the patent and the memorandum specifically. So with Grimm's help, I started searching the internet. I was also able to get one of Grimm's friends who had lived up in America to help out as well. But even with all that help, I still didn't think we were going to find anything. In this day and age, you couldn't trust anyone without a source. Yo, I just got a message from Shiho. Shiho was the friend of Grimm that I mentioned earlier. He lived in America and spoke fluent English. Let me guess, bullshit, right? That stupid fucking mental case. She had to have just been making a fool out of me because she didn't think I could understand English. Was she talking in English, or like just didn't expect him to look into English material? Don't underestimate the power of the internet. Internet. Consider yourself pwned. Ooh, it exists, apparently. Huh? It exists? What did? The patent, I'm guessing. The guy went out of his way to TL it for us. Anyway, let me up it. Is this just more bait? Man, you don't trust me at all, do you, Lamau? Although, that's probably my fault for being an ass most of the time. Okay then, how about I invite Shiho instead? Could it actually be real? I'd been tricked by Grimm several times in the past. If I trusted him like I usually did, he'd hit me with something so bad that it'd make my brain short circuit. But he was saying that he was going to invite Shiho, and that he even had a source for us. If this is just you baiting me again, I'll kick you out of the guild. KK, trust me just this once. He was being surprisingly confident. Maybe it really was okay to trust him this time. Damn it, I'm such an easy target. Slightly nervous, I squinted my eyes halfway shut to protect myself from seeing anything too quickly or too clearly, and then I clicked the link. What is this? It was a document written in English with a bunch of strange diagrams on the lower half. Part of it looked like a human face. The headline read, United States Patent. I knew that much at least. In other words, this was an actual U.S. patent. Oh, I don't like seeing the word lobotomy on there. Do you know what VR technology is? There have already been successful tests, to the point where the research team behind it have already obtained a patent for it. It was real. I then went to open one of the 2 text files that had come bundled with it. One of them had a series of news articles that seemed to mention the patent, all of which were translated into Japanese. One said that the Psychophysiology Research Laboratory of America's Victor Condria University was currently researching a groundbreaking invention known as VR, visual rebuilding. As the goal of the research was primarily for healthcare, it had been gaining the attention of visually impaired people from all over the world. It was groundbreaking technology that enabled people who were blind from birth to see the scenery in front of them through video cameras and other imaging devices. To put it simply, this was done by converting signals, the ones that compose the image data that the video camera received, into the only signal the brain could recognize, electrical signals known as nerve impulses. These are then transported to the brain via the optic nerve. There had already been successful tests, and the patent had already been registered. The patent, it was actually approved. So, did that mean that what Senna had said wasn't just some chuny delusion? I gulped, then went to open the other text file. I began reading. Presidential Documents Memorandum of March 27th, 1997. Strengthened protections for human subjects of classified research. Okay. The agencies shall jointly propose to prohibit waiver of informed consent for classified research, part of it said. Beginning 1 year after the date of this memorandum, no agency shall conduct or support classified human research without having proposed and promulgated the common rule, said another. The document was then signed at the bottom by William J. Clinton, enclosed with The White House, Washington, March 27th, 1997. A memorandum from the President of the United States. The content sounded like the premise to a movie or something, so I never would have thought it was actually real. I went to check the original document via the URL. Even I could read English for the most part. Despite how I might have looked, I was a lot smarter than those DQNs that went to school every day. The actual contents written in the document were the same as the translated text. Which means... Senna's words echoed in the back of my mind. If it's possible to convert specific information into nerve impulses, wouldn't it be possible to control all 5 of the senses and even the free will of people itself? It was starting to get somewhat difficult to understand at this point, but with what Senna had told me, combined with the sources we'd found online that backed her up, it all sent chills down my spine. I had a feeling that something terrible was lurking within. But what confused me the most was what Senna's true intentions were in telling me all of this. Did it have anything to do with me? The part about being able to control people's free will definitely wasn't something I could dismiss as somebody else's problem. Because there was the possibility that I was a sleepwalker. On the day of the 3rd New Gen incident, the crucifixion, I had been told that I'd been posting in a chat room as Shogun. Apparently, I had posted from @cafe too, but I had no memory of any of it. And not only that, but I had absolutely no memory of Rimi too. We had been classmates for over a year, and we had been close enough to hang out on multiple occasions, yet I had no memory of any of it. Maybe I had done all of those things while I was being manipulated by some other being. Besides, I was terrible at talking to 3D girls to begin with, so there was no way I would be close to a cute girl like Rimi normally. No, I was thinking too hard about this. At the very least, I knew that the chat thing was just one of Yua's delusions. Shogun was a separate entity from me. He was trying to entrap me, and it didn't go beyond that. This was true regardless of whether or not he had actually been the old man in the wheelchair that had appeared in front of 107. Maybe Senna, too, was one of Shogun's underlings. Maybe she was just trying to deceive me. Don't just blindly accept everything without questioning it. Don't trust a suspicious girl that you don't actually know. Senna and Yua were both of the same breed. That's how it should go, right, Serotan? Okay, we're switching back to Yua. I haven't seen her in a minute. The only sound present in the room was the distinct clacking of a keyboard. Kusunoki Yua's thin, supple fingers moved as if they were dancing, her gaze fixed on the monitor all the while. Her touch typing was effortless, and she made next to no typos. She was writing an email. A very long one at that. Yua had been already writing for almost a half an hour, endlessly deliberating over the contents of the email and making frequent revisions as she continued to type. Girl, same. No matter how short it is, I will spend way too much overanalyzing it. Suddenly, her fingers stopped moving. With a small, pained sigh, she abruptly pressed and held down the backspace key. The cursor that was lit up on the monitor began scrolling leftward at high speed. All the long sentences she had written so far disappeared nearly instantaneously as the cursor traveled across the screen. When all of the contents had been erased, Yua took hold of the Garo Froggy stuffed animal lying on her bed, then hugged it tightly to her chest. This was a habit that Yua had developed recently. If she did not hug something in this way, she would be faced with unbearable anxiety. Burying her chin in the stuffed animal, Yua sighed once again and shook her head softly. Please, give me the courage to do this. Murmuring softly to no one in particular, Yua's expression stiffened. With the stuffed animal resting on her lap, she returned her hands to the keyboard. Within the monitor, each letter she typed in a fluid manner was quickly displayed in sequence. Compared to the one she had erased just moments before, this email was far more short and simple. It only served to provide the bare necessities of what she needed to convey. When she finished writing, Yua hesitated for a moment, and then she resolutely clicked on the send icon. Oh, I sent it. Before she could stop it from going through, the email had already been sent in the blink of an eye. Yua squeezed the Garo froggy sitting on her lap tightly and continued to stare at the monitor in front of her for over an hour. Although she had not been expecting one, there was no sign of a reply at all. There I was, in my beloved room 37. As I sank down into the recliner, I started chewing on my nails in an attempt to distract myself from my irritation. There was a reason I'd come to At Cafe 2 days in a row, yesterday and today. 2 nights ago, after Grim, Shiho, and I had found out that what Senna had said was true, I'd received an email from Yuna. In it, she'd insolently said that she wanted to talk to me one more time. Fuck off, I'd wanted to tell her. What the hell did she mean she wanted to talk? After deceiving me like that? I had nothing to say to her. Even if I did, she'd probably just come up with some new fancy way to trap me when I went to see her, as if I could risk that. It was true that I wasn't used to talking to girls. That was why I'd been so happy back when Yua was hitting on me. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it when she was flirting. No, I get it though. And yet the harlot had been toying with me behind my back. You have no proof of that, bro. And on top of that, she'd come up with all these insane delusions. Even I had delusions, sure, but I never bothered anyone else with them. But that girl assaulted me with her schizo BS that treated me like I was the new gen culprit. I could never forgive what she'd done to me. Never. You know, I mean, it was like a public confrontation, so I could see that probably getting under his skin. I think he just doesn't want to be called out. Nobody likes being called out. So I'd ignored her email, but there had still been one thing that concerned me. In her email, she'd said that she was going to come by my base, and I knew for a fact that she knew my address. That was why I decided to take refuge in At Cafe, despite it not being a school day. Okay. So she warned him, she's like, hey, I'm gonna pop by, and he's just like, no, we're not. We're ghosting the hell out of this bitch. We're not even home. If I had the option, I would have brought my D-sword as a protection charm, but unlike Senna, I didn't have the courage to walk down Center Guy with it. At any rate, spending almost half a day in an internet cafe was fairly tiring. The recliners were comfortable, and it was equipped with showers, but I still couldn't fully relax like I could at my base. And then the biggest problem of all. Seratan wasn't here. After 2 days spent holed up in the cafe, I realized just how much the mere presence of Seratan helped me. I wanted to hurry up and get back to my base as soon as possible. But going back late at night would mean the date would change. And by that time, the last train would already be gone. I figured that Yua most likely wouldn't be waiting for me anymore by then. Oh, okay, so he's just, oh wow, we gotta stay here till midnight because, like, oh, she can't get a train to my place. Oh my god. I had to stick around for another 4 hours before the clock would strike midnight. Alright, so it's about 8 o'clock. I was sure time would go by a lot faster if I played ESO. I moved my gaze over to the PC monitor. My second character, Liselat, was standing there aimlessly, not moving. Is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Senna's words came to mind. More than half of what she'd said was true. The only thing I couldn't find a source for was the part where she was talking about controlling even people's wills and bodies. Maybe that part was just a delusion of hers. Mixing in just a few lies with the truth was a clever and effective way to scare people, especially with threats. Even though my reasonable side knew all that, I couldn't help but feel scared as I thought about all the strange, inexplicable phenomena that had been plaguing me over the last few weeks. In a daze, I looked at Liselat on the screen. Liselat, is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Keeping my voice low to avoid being overheard, I whispered that absent-mindedly. I thought about something like this several times in the past. The world that I was looking at right now, Baselard, was the world that Liselat lived in. It might have been real for her, but from my perspective, it was fake. Which meant that the world I lived in was seen as a fake from the point of view of the person controlling me. However, just as Liselat couldn't perceive me as a higher being, I also couldn't perceive the person controlling me as a higher being. I'll say I guess I haven't really been controlling him, even though we are, perceiving him from this higher perspective. I wondered if Liselat was thinking the same things that I was thinking. Although I just realized this might be super, oh my god, what if it's super meta? What if it is saying that you can control people, you can control the way they move by planting certain information in their heads, giving them these delusions. And so that's us. We are controlling him.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
So it is us. Okay. At the very least, she couldn't move on her own. I had to interfere in order for her to move. So yeah, even though his is a character interface where he moves her, we are just making decisions about what goes into his mind, and then he thinks he's making his own decisions or, going along by his own willpower, but we're actually manipulating his decisions in the same way that he gets to manipulate Liselat. So what about me? Maybe I too couldn't get up from this recliner without the interference of the person controlling me. Nope. To test this, I tried to stand up. I did it with ease. Yeah, nothing's gonna happen. After that, I tried sitting down. It took no effort. But the sequence of events, was it really of my own volition? Ooh, so, maybe, again, we're the ones making decisions about what information goes into his head. We are potentially causing this, or at least fostering this paranoia of his, and that's why he's doing the sitting up, standing down thing. He's not wrong. Or was it the result of someone's interference? I had no way of knowing. Huh? I heard the sound of the partition door to the private room being opened behind me, and at the same time, I felt someone come in. Startled, I turned around. Is it Yua? Oh! She found me! Oh, good one, girly. Okay. Kusunoki Yua? I was so terrified that I was about to scream. Yo, I literally did scream! But Yua's hand quickly covered my mouth. Her hand was hot, and the scent of Yua's sweat infiltrated my nose. Be quiet. Don't make a sound. Promise not to make a sound. Are we getting kidnapped? Will you promise me? You better not say otherwise. Oh, she's got that super intense stare that she had when she was you have to admit it. You can't say that you're not. Admit it. Why don't you admit it? You can't. I don't remember. I don't remember her exact words, but she's got the look. She's got the look. She's got a thing going. Promise me. You'll do it, won't you? Is it an OCD thing? Do it. Please. Good or bad, good or bad, good or bad. Ooh, because this could turn sexy. But honestly, I think we're going to see something violent. In this small private room, the only way out was blocked by Yua. The next thing I knew, my shoulders were being held down with such incredible force I couldn't even get up from my seat. Yua's cold gaze pierced through me at point-blank range. I couldn't help but look away, and my eyes fell on the 3 Garo froggies attached to the bag she was carrying on her shoulder. All right? Don't make a sound. Other than to promise me that you won't make a sound, of course. Yua's hand slowly started to release me. Ha! I tried to scream, but my mouth was quickly covered once again. Duh, what did you think would happen? I could barely breathe. Why are you trying to talk? Even though you promised me. He didn't. Didn't you? No. You did promise me. You did, didn't you? You did. Yua's grip strength wasn't normal. Keeping her hand clamped over my mouth, she forcefully tightened her grip on my chin. My fear reached its peak and my knees started to tremble. I could no longer do anything but nod frantically at Yua's nearly inaudible words, each one sounding as if they didn't have a single shred of emotion behind them. That finally made Yua weaken the grip she had on my chin, but she didn't let go like she had before. Damn it. This bitch was an actual bona fide stalker. I never would have thought that she'd show up here. And I just want to say, screen's not wavy. I think this is real. This part is real. This is not a delusion. She is indeed in front of him. I just thought he was going to delude about, like, what she was going to do. And we might still get that in a few minutes. We'll see. No, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I totally should have predicted it. I remembered that I'd actually seen her before, on the day we first met. She had been peeking at me from the neighboring room 36. She seems like she came in here looking for him. She's like, oh, he's not home? Okay, I know exactly where he's at. Yeah, like, she knows his places. Like, that's not all that much protection. Like, yeah, and honestly, we should have expected her to come here of her own volition at some point, right? Like, and I bet she just saw, like, room 36 was closed, and it's like, I bet that's him, and just yanked the door open. Oh, there we go. It was pointless to have taken shelter here. How could I have been so careless? I'm sorry. Really? As if to avoid being overheard by anyone around her, Yua whispered to me quietly, and her tone of voice reverted to her usual timid one. I did catch that, okay. It was like she had 2 personalities or something. This girl was insane. I really startled you, didn't I? But I absolutely had to do this in order to talk to you, Nishijo-kun. She looked genuinely sorry. Crazily enough, I almost felt guilty just by looking at her. She was an amazing actor. I don't think she's acting. I guess when she was looking at the DID stuff, I thought she was applying it to him, but maybe she was looking into it for herself. Maybe there is some kind of cooperation. I would think that the alternate personalities would, like, I guess go into a fugue state where they wouldn't remember what happened while another personality took over. I don't really know exactly how that works, or if it maybe just works differently for everyone with DID. I went to your house yesterday, but you weren't there. Even so, I waited there until late at night. But I I understand how you feel, why you were trying to avoid me. I really do. I deceived you, Nishijo-kun. If you acknowledge that, then just stay away from me. I have nothing to say to any of Shogun's underlings. Anyone who traps a weak person like me is a demon. You're actually the bad guy because you're picking on me and I'm a victim. But please, please let me say just one thing. I don't want to see you get hurt anymore, nor do I want you to be unhappy. But I also don't want you to make any more people unhappy either. Okay, what was she talking about? She was talking as if she knew everything about me, despite the fact that we hadn't even spent 24 hours together. Just what the hell did this girl actually know about me? Was this just another one of her signature batshit insane delusions? A shudder ran through me, and I started flailing my arms and legs. But even so, Yua didn't let go. If this went on for much longer, this girl might actually kill me. Had Shogun given up on trying to trap me and had just sent Yua as an assassin instead? No, dude, she's not trying to kill you. Calm down. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I'm sorry, but please just be quiet. I'm almost done. The tone of her voice was meek, but the power behind Yua's hands as she held me down was so strong, even if I tried to resist, she wouldn't budge an inch. I couldn't believe that such slender hands could be so powerful. Nishijo-kun. Yua inched her face closer and closer to mine. I desperately turned my head away. Please. That was when I noticed. Yua's hands were trembling. Or was it just that my hands were shaking so much it made it look like hers were too? While I pondered that, something unbelievable came out of her mouth. Don't kill anyone anymore. What? You aren't even aware of it, are you? But I understand that too. So does she think she's talking to, or trying to speak to his alter, we'll just say to his alter, through him? After all, you have no way of knowing, Nishijo-kun. Knowing? Knowing what? Yua's eyes shone with sorrow. Even though she had been staring at me intently until now, she suddenly cast her eyes downward. Have DID. Multiple personalities. I had multiple personalities? I don't think we've seen any evidence of that, though, right? At least, I want to see what her evidence is if we haven't. I don't remember her presenting any actual evidence. Like, all of this just seemed like theories. I mean, we know that he was like quote unquote sleepwalking, we'll call it, and that he is Shogun. But that's really all that he proved, was that he is Shogun. It doesn't prove that Shogun is the killer or mastermind. So I want to see where her connection is there. At first, I fully intended on turning you over to the police. Despite how confused I was, Yua continued to talk. And if that didn't work, I'd even thought to take matters into my own hands. But when I investigated you, I found that you were suffering just as much as I was. The eyes behind Yua's glasses once again took hold of me. They pleaded with me. And no matter how hard I tried to see it as something else, I couldn't see her as anything other than genuinely worried about me. And that horrified me. I want to help you. This girl's delusions were getting out of control. What she was saying was totally insane. Or was it? Was it really insane? So, let's go to the hospital. We'll do it together. I didn't truly know myself, understand myself. I had posted in a chat room under the handle Shogun without knowing it. Even though I had no memory of it, I had become friends with a girl named Rimi. It wasn't just me sleepwalking, and it wasn't some higher being controlling me. Maybe the person controlling me from inside my head literally was inside my head. I wasn't me. I wasn't me. I was a different personality. The otaku is its own personality. I had multiple personalities. I mean, he seems to remember most of each day. My head hurt. A throbbing, stabbing pain ripped through it. That wasn't possible. The entire thing was bullshit. Who would ever believe that? It, too, was yet another one of Yua's delusions. She was my enemy. She was impeding my way of life. She was trying to trap me. She was trying to destroy my mind. Even the hospital itself was under Shogun's reign. The only person I trusted, Dr. Takashina, had disappeared in such a sudden and inexplicable manner. That's true. It's a little weird that he went missing. Shogun must have made him disappear. And if I did what Yua said, he'd make me disappear too. I don't believe her. It's not true. It's not true, 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 it's not true. It's not true. I was stuck in my own head. I shoved Yua off me with every ounce of strength I could muster. Slamming into the wooden sliding door behind her, Yua slumped down to the floor with a grimace. Heavy breathing. Finally freed from Yua's grasp, I grabbed my bag, stepped over Yua's body, and made for the exit. Is she gonna grab an ankle, maybe? Wait! Still crumpled on the floor, Yua grabbed my ankle. Her hair was disheveled, and her glasses were falling off her face, but she made no effort to fix them. Seeing her clinging so desperately to me terrified me so much, a pathetic scream escaped from my mouth. Ugh! She was my enemy, one of Shogun's underlings. I won't be deceived. I won't be deceived by you ever again. Don't touch me! I shouted as loud as I could, and Yua quickly let go of me. In that window, I bolted out of the room. All right, we made our escape. I tore a 5,000 yen bill from my wallet and slammed it down on the counter in front of the dumbfounded receptionist. And then, without getting my change, I burst down to the elevator leading outside. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to leave it on a cliffhanger there. Does Takumi get out of this safe? Is this gonna be the breaking point? Is this where he loses his fucking mind? Or, like, I don't know. I'm babbling. My mind is blown. I also have a little bit of a new theory. Shit, what was it? So I now have this theory that in addition to us being, involved in this game in the way that we are somehow causing his paranoia, I also realized we had two delusion moments in this one, and neither one of them panned out. I chose the bad ending both times, and the screen stayed straight. So I'm thinking that it now has to do with, like, how much he believes the things around him, about how much he believes, or how he takes things, how he takes this information in. Is he going to react good, or is he going to react bad? Is this going to make him start to trust people, or is this going to make him more reclusive and fight back? That's kind of what I'm thinking is going on here. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm on the right track here. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, listening to me ramble. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you didn't, keep it to yourself or put it in the comments, whatever. And subscribe. Vibe. And then you'll know when the next one's coming out. I hope to see you there.